God bless America. Hello, everybody. I am the Talk Radio Protege. This is the Protege program. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that your appetites are whetted for political scandal because, boy, have we got a doozy today. So, alleged questions that Robert Mueller allegedly wants to ask President Trump were leaked to the New York Times recently. And there have been a lot of discussion about the questions, what they're designed to extract from the president, and who might have leaked them, why they might have leaked them. But I don't want to talk about any of that. I want to talk exclusively about the questions themselves, because just assuming that these are, in fact, questions that Mueller wants to ask the president. A lot of people in the media, every time there's a leak concerning the investigation or the president, they don't even begin to question whether or not the leak is authentic. We just go with it and we begin to analyze. Now, the leak of these questions, you know what? Let me spend a couple of minutes here talking about whether or not this is the real deal. The leak of these questions doesn't make any sense to me no matter which way you slice it. Why would Robert Mueller leak questions that he himself wants to ask the president? You could say that Mueller wants to make the president nervous. Well, okay, I don't understand that. I don't understand how leaking the questions so that you give the man advance notice to the questions that you want to ask, I don't understand how that makes him nervous. Why would the Trump team leak these questions? The one theory is that the Trump team wrote these questions down as summaries of discussions that they've had with Mueller trying to negotiate a discussion and interview. So why would the Trump team leak these questions? Why would he want the Mueller team to know how they're prepping the president to prepare for this interview? I don't understand that. So, somebody is either leaked, totally made up and falsified questions for the sake of leaking and getting to talk to the media, or somebody has leaked these questions that are genuine questions for the sake of getting to talk to the media and be a leaker. That's the only conclusion that I can arrive at. Is somebody leaked questions, whether or not they're real, for the sake of getting to be a leaker and getting to talk to the media. That's the conclusion that I reach. Let me know what your thoughts are about that in the comments. But I want to look at some of the questions, and the Washington Post has a very convenient column titled "The 7 Most Intriguing Questions Robert Mueller wants to ask Trump." Now, a lot of things have been said, and I realize we haven't talked about a potential Trump interview with Mueller on this channel yet. Mostly it's because there hasn't really been anything of substance to talk about. There's just been rumors that an interview might happen, that Trump wanted to do an interview, that Mueller was seeking an interview. That's all that was really swirling around in the news. It hasn't been until today yesterday, that we had something to talk about in terms of an interview, in the form of these questions, in the form of this leak. So, should Trump do an interview with Robert Mueller? On the one hand, you might say, well, sure, Trump should do an interview with Mueller. He's innocent. He didn't do what they're accusing him of doing. He didn't do Russian collusion or anything like that. So sure, he should do an interview. He can answer all of the questions. He can lay this whole thing to rest by doing an interview. On the other hand, Michael Flynn did an interview, and look what's happening to him. He had to sell his home in Virginia. He is going bankrupt trying to defend him. He was going bankrupt trying to defend himself against the accusations that he lied to the FBI. Eventually, he just copped a plea and said, sure, I lied to the FBI. it's no stretch, in my opinion, that Trump would easily be put on the same chopping block. And here's how it works. If you've been listening to conservative commentators talking about a possible interview between Trump and Mueller, you know what I'm about to say. Here's how the lying to the FBI charge works. The FBI takes meticulous notes on everything that you say in the interview. They ask you a totally innocuous question that you couldn't possibly remember the correct answer to. They ask you, what did you have for breakfast the day before you fired Michael Flynn? Or they ask you, what time did you have dinner the day after you fired James Comey? And they write down, word for word, every jot and tittle, dotting every I and crossing every T, exactly what you tell them that day, the day of the interview. If you tell them you had bacon and eggs for breakfast the day before you fired Michael Flynn, and you had dinner at 7 the night after you fired James Comey, then they write that down. They let a few weeks go by, and then they call you back. And they say, well, we're confused. What time did you have dinner the day after you fired James Comey? And if you say 7 o'clock and 59 seconds, or 6:59 and 59 seconds, if you don't say 7 o'clock, then bam, you're now in the slammer and being prosecuted for lying to the FBI, for lying to the special counsel. You've been ensnared in a process crime. You don't have to lie about anything pertaining to the investigation. You just have to tell a falsehood, period. Whether or not it was made with intent to deceive. And you've lied to the FBI. You've lied to Robert Mueller. You've lied to the special counsel, and now you're going away for life. So when we look over these questions, they're very open-ended. They're extremely subject to being given two different answers on the same, or on two different occasions of asking the question. I want to have a look at some of these. Number one, what knowledge did you have of any outreach by your campaign, including Paul Manafort, to Russia about potential assistance to the campaign? Now, the correct answer is none, because as far as we know, Manafort did not do that. Manafort had some relationships with the Russian government way before the campaign. There is no evidence that Paul Manafort reached out to Russia to ask for assistance in the campaign, as far as I know. I could be wrong. But the correct answer is none. But maybe Trump thinks that Mueller is talking about something that he's not talking about. So he says, well, I knew that Manafort was doing da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and he goes off on this long spiel. You know, Trump is prone to shooting off the cuff, to saying comments that aren't prepared, which is great on the campaign. You like to see somebody improvise when he's in a crowd. It shows that he's comfortable speaking in front of an audience, that he's comfortable enough to think on his feet and say things that aren't prepared statements. But you do not, absolutely do not want to do that when you're talking to someone as vicious in their prosecutorial zeal as Robert Mueller and the FBI. You cannot do that. So this is one of those big open-ended questions that could have a lot of different subtexts that they want to ask, allegedly, that they want to ask President Trump. What's the next question? How was the decision made to fire Mr. Flynn on February 13th? Well, as the Post shows, Trump tweeted, I had to fire Flynn because he lied to Mike Pence. But what if that's not the only thing that the president was thinking about when he fired Flynn? What if the president has a few other things he'd like to add to that sentiment? You know, now the special counsel can construe or cast Trump as lying to the American people with this tweet about firing Flynn over lying to Mike Pence. Maybe telling everybody that firing Flynn over lying to Pence was not all of the truth, but there was some other things in there that Trump didn't necessarily take the time to explain. Maybe the FBI and the special counsel could decide that that is worthy of criminal prosecution. Let's go to the next one. What did you think and do in reaction to the news that special counsel was speaking to Rogers, Pompeo, and Coates? If the answer is not nothing, then you're in a process crime. If the president is watching this, which I highly doubt, if you do not say, I did nothing in response to everything that you just said for here, question number 3, then you're in a process crime, because they're going to hit you on communicating with people that were under investigation for the FBI, or trying to cover something up for people that were under the investigation. Whatever, they're going to find something if the answer to this question is not absolutely nothing. And then, of course, this is one of those questions that they can come back and ask you about when you're not, just call you up on the phone and say, hey, we forgot to write down what your answer was to the question, what did you think and do in reaction to X? It could be anything. It wouldn't have to be this. It could be anything. And they catch President Trump off guard, not talking to his lawyers, and he would just say, well, yeah, I did this. And then, bam, you have a process crime. Because the correct answer is absolutely nothing. And when you were in the room with your lawyers, they stopped you and said, hold on, the correct answer is nothing. You didn't do anything. But then you went and told Mueller that you did something so minute that it's effectively nothing. But anyway, let's move on. What's question number 4? Did you discuss whether Mr. Sessions would protect you and reference past attorneys general? That question is, did Mr. Trump say to Jeff Sessions, are you going to be for me what Eric Holder was for Obama? And why shouldn't a president these days expect that his attorney general is going to be what Eric Holder was for Obama, what Loretta Lynch was for Obama? That the precedent has been set. And yet, Republican attorneys general are not allowed to be the kind of attorneys general that Eric Holder and Loretta Lynch were. Just blatant hypocrisy on the part of the Democrats in regards to this question. But anyhow, if the answer is not no, then you have a process crime. If you don't say to Robert Mueller when he asks you this question, no, then you're going to get hit with something. Next question, number 5. What did you think and do in reaction to the news of the appointment of the special counsel? I would hazard to say that if you don't tell Robert Mueller, I applauded that a special counsel was being appointed for the sake of looking into me, then you're going to get hit with something. If your answer is nothing, you're probably going to get hit with something. You better, if you get asked this question, you better tell Robert Mueller that you prayed it was going to be him that was going to be appointed. Anyhow, next question. What discussions did you have regarding terminating the special counsel, and what did you do when that consideration was reported in January 2018? Now, the correct answer to the second half of the question is nothing. The first part of the question, there's nothing illegal in asking the question, should I do something that might not be good for me, that might not be politically expedient? You know, it is illegal to commit murder, but it's not illegal to ask the question, should I commit murder? I feel like I should probably be careful about including that in the video, because of the way that YouTube is operating right now. But there's nothing illegal about asking a question about committing a crime. Now, you might have doubts about a person that would ask a question like that. If a person's going to ask you, hey, I want your opinion on something. Should I kill this guy in cold blood? You might be a little nervous around that guy, but the words that he said are not illegal. Asking the question, should I fire Special Counsel Robert Mueller as President of the United States, is not illegal. But if you say, yeah, I had that discussion, something is going to happen in terms of a process crime. And then number seven, during a 2013 trip to Russia, what communication and relationships did you have with the last name that I'm not going to try to pronounce and Russian government officials? If the answer is not none, you're getting slammed with Russian collusion on that question. Now, given all of those questions that we just looked at and spent a little too much time on, what do you guys think is the objective of the Mueller investigation in regards to these questions? Could it be that Robert Mueller wants to trap the president in a process crime if these questions are the real deal? You know, you would expect a conservative commentator to say that. Ever since the idea of Trump meeting with Mueller was floated, Rush Limbaugh has been saying, this is a trap to catch the president in a process crime. Yes, I like to listen to Rush Limbaugh, sue me. But you wouldn't expect a far-left partisan publication like Vox to give away the game, to let the cat out of the bag. From Vox, thevox.com, the repeal the Second Amendment Vox.com. Mueller's questions show that he wants to get Trump to incriminate himself. The game is over. The cat is out of the bag. If Trump reads Vox.com, then he should never, ever sit down with the special counsel under any circumstances. Because Vox has overplayed their hand. They are playing an open-faced hand of poker right now. They think they're holding a royal flush, and they want the world to know. Again, if the president is watching this, which I highly doubt, but on the off chance that the president is watching this video, Robert Mueller absolutely is trying to catch you in a process crime. Do not, under any circumstances, have a conversation with this man or any of his surrogates. Do not, under any circumstances, sit down with your lawyers and have an interview with this man. Do not, under any circumstances, go under oath and talk to this man about these questions. I beg of you, do not spring the trap. That's going to do it for this video. I hope that you guys enjoyed. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are about these things. If you want to see more content like this, hit subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. Come back tomorrow for our next report. Have a fantastic day, and God bless.